North Point. I hope this is the right thread to post my story. My ex-wife and I have been divorced for more than 3 years now. Last night, I received a call from a mutual friend who informed me that my ex-wife is critically ill in ICU for the past few days. The thing is that I have not contacted her ever since we got divorced. We do not communicate at all. My friend just thought that I should know. Now, I am caught in a dilemma as to whether I should visit my ex or not. I have gone to NC with her for so long, and now to show up all of a sudden, it may complicate matters. Furthermore, I lived about 8 hours from her. Ever since we broke up, I have detached myself from her and moved out from the town that we used to live in. Just a short background on our relationship. We were married for about 8 years. We didn't have any children, so that makes the divorce easier. We were both career-minded people, and the divorce was not financially difficult for both of us. We just split up everything equally and move on with our own life. My wife had an EA with a co-worker. Even when she was having an EA, I did not suspect anything, as we were getting along just fine. We still had our weekly romantic dinners. We went to the movies, and the lovemaking then was simply incredible. However, knowing my wife, she has always been honest with me about everything. One day, she sat me down and told me about her EA. She told me that she was falling for her co-worker, the OM, and they have not done anything physical yet. She did not intend to go any further in the relationship with the OM until she gets a divorce from me. That was the first time she mentioned the D word. I was devastated. I asked her what I have done wrong as her husband. She actually consoled me and said I have done nothing wrong. It was her who had wronged me. She said she just couldn't help falling in love with the OM. I suggested MC for us, but she told me that was no point, as she didn't want to remain married and didn't want to hurt me any further. From then on, I knew she had made up her mind, and I decided to detach myself from her. Like I said, she has always been honest and good to me. To the very last day when I saw her, she gave me a long and affectionate hug. She was tearful, and so was I. We said our goodbyes and we left amicably after that. It has been 3 years now, and suddenly I get this sort of phone call. I am still torn as to whether I should go to visit her or not. To be honest, I am not too keen to see my ex-in-laws or even the OM, or possibly her husband now. You see, the thing is that if I go, the situation might be rather awkward, and I may feel emotionally hurt seeing her again. If I don't go, I might regret it for the rest of my life. From what my friend told me, she is unconscious and has been that way for the last few days. So, sending her a card is not really the answer. I guess I just have to make a decision sooner or later. Furthermore, I have just started going out with this lady about a month ago, and I have not told her yet. We are still in the dating stage, so things might get a bit complicated with this turn of the event. She did send me a few emails, asking if I am taking care of myself and hope that everything is going well. She even sent me an email once reminding me to go for my annual medical checkup. However, I have never replied to any of those emails. Thinking back now, maybe I should have replied. You can see that I am having regrets now about past events. Maybe I should not have gone to NC with her. I should just remain friends, but at the same time I knew I need to detach in order to move on. Comment: I think you need to go. I think you want to go, or you wouldn't be here asking. If she is already unconscious in the end stages of cancer, then she, likely, won't be regaining consciousness. It is my understanding that the hearing is the last thing to go. As divorces go, especially those involving infidelity, it sounds like yours was fairly amicable. When someone is gone, you don't get any do-overs. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Perhaps she will be able to rest in peace better after knowing that you came to see her. Closure can be very healing. It is apparent that you loved her and that, although your marriage did not survive, she once loved and cared for you as well. You may regret it if you don't go, but I really doubt that you will regret it if you do. Another comment: doesn't go. I don't even understand how this is even something you would consider. She got what she wanted. OP responds: I will be leaving first thing in the morning to visit my ex. It will be a long drive. I strongly believe that visiting her is the right thing to do. In a way, I think I do owe her for all the good times we shared together. I have just spoken to my lady friend. She didn't seem so happy about it, as I will need to cancel our date, but she agreed that I should visit the ex. She may have a bit of jealousy issue. Like I said, we have only dated about a month. We still got a long way to go to understand each other. It has been a very emotional weekend for me. My ex-wife is still unconscious, and I am not sure how long she will be in that state. Though she is my ex, but I certainly hope she will pull through. When I reached the hospital, I immediately went to the ICU, and the duty nurse who was there asked me about my relationship with the patient. Initially, I told her I am the patient's friend. The nurse refused me entry, as currently only close family members are allowed to visit her in the ICU. Seeing that there was no choice, I told the nurse I am actually the patient's ex-husband. The nurse asked me to take a seat while she checked with her supervisor. 10 minutes later, the nurse told me that they have contacted the patient's family members, and they said to allow me to go into the ICU. I was rather nervous when I entered the ICU because I have not seen the ex-wife for 3 years. I did not know what to expect. When I saw her, I couldn't take it anymore. I broke down and cried. She was so thin and weak, but she still looked so pretty to me. She had all this wires hooking up to the machines, and I just couldn't believe that she could be in this condition. I sat down next to her, stroking her hair and then holding her hand and kissing it gently. I don't really know what to say here, but I actually miss her. As I was sitting next to her, my tears just kept flowing as it has been such a long time, and now to see her like this was just too overwhelming. Luckily there was no one there at that time. I held her hand and was talking to her about how I miss her and told her I am so sorry that I did not contact her all these years. I recall the time when we first met, dated, married, all the fun times we had. Somewhere along, I actually told her I love her, and that was when I felt a weak and gentle squeeze of my hand. I thought she was awake, but unfortunately, she wasn't. As I continued talking to her, I noticed that there were tears flowing from her eyes. I did check with the doctor whether she was able to hear me. The doctor said it is quite possible. When I mentioned about the gentle squeeze that I felt, the doctor said that it could be muscle spasm. When I asked him about her tears, the doctor mentioned that it could be an overflow of the tear gland, as she has not opened her eyes for quite a while. The doctor looked at me and asked me not to read too much into it, and it is just a medical or physical reaction. I so badly wanted the doctor to say that what I felt was genuine. While I was in my ex's town, what used to be our town, I learned quite a number of things about my ex which got me really emotional. I also managed to talk to my ex-in-laws. I will post that later as I am really tired and I need to get some rest. It has been a long drive. My ex-father-in-law just called. She's gone. She slipped away peacefully a few moments ago. I will always love her, no matter what. I am just too distraught at the moment. I have not been feeling too well. I will not be attending the funeral. My ex-father-in-law is very concerned about me and has advised me to rest and not to attend. He said the family is very appreciative of me being there in the ICU. There is nothing more that he can ask from me. The ex-father-in-law told me after I left for home, my ex-wife's condition deteriorated. The doctors told the family to prepare for the worst. If there is any consolation to this, was that when it came to saying their final goodbyes, my ex-father-in-law spoke a lot of things to the ex, and when he mentioned my name, my ex-father-in-law said the ex gave a small smile. According to my ex-father-in-law, it looked like a smile anyway. Not long after that, she passed on peacefully. I will post more about the OM and the ex-laws when I am feeling much better. As for my lady friend, she said it is better for me to be left alone so that I can mourn in peace or privacy. I can't remember her exact words. She is not coming. Anyway, I have not been eating well and I don't feel like going out. The boss was kind enough to let me take a few days off. I am feeling better and slowly getting into my normal routine. A couple of days ago, I received a package from my ex-father-in-law. My ex-father-in-law told me that my ex-wife wanted me to have it after she is gone. The package contained a lot of stuff from our marriage and from our dating days. There were letters, photos taken together, cards, and some other stuff that I got for her when we were dating, married. I thought she would have thrown all the stuff away when we got divorced. Embarrassingly, I must say that I got rid of all the stuff when we got divorced. It was my way of detachment and moving on. In the package was a small little card handwritten by her. I recognized her handwriting, which says, "My dearest ex, thank you for all the wonderful and happy moments we shared together. Love you always and forever, X." I must admit that I was a bit disappointed, as I was hoping that she would write a longer letter, but I guess she probably knew that she was going, or she was too weak at that time. I promised that I would write about some of the things I learned about her from my final visit at the ICU. To continue from my last post, I met my ex-in-laws in the ICU. It was rather weird. When we came face to face, we instinctively hugged each other and shed some tears. After things began to settle down a bit, my ex-father-in-law invited me to grab a cup of coffee outside. We started with some small talk, but I had to know whether the OM will be there anytime soon, as I didn't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable with my presence. My ex-father-in-law just shook his head sadly and looked down. He informed me that less than a year after we got divorced, the OM met a tragic accident. When I asked my ex-father-in-law whether the OM treated my ex-wife well, my ex-father-in-law said the OM was a respectful, polite, and decent guy in spite of the affair. Both the OM and ex-wife have agreed not to pursue the relationship any further. I will read that as moving to PA until both of them have got their divorce. Since the OM had kids, unlike us, things were more complicated and took longer for him to settle with his wife. While separated from his wife, the OM died in a tragic accident. My ex-father-in-law said after the accident, my ex-wife went into depression. From my ex-father-in-law's story, I could see that reality had hit my ex-wife when she realized that she was not able to attend the OM's funeral, as it would be rather awkward. If she had attended the funeral, it would probably hurt the OM's wife even more, since the OM's wife would legally still be the OM's widow. I guess my ex-wife felt that she was like the OM's mistress. However, my ex-father-in-law did inform me that they had plans to get married once the OM's divorce has been finalized. When she fell into depression, my ex-in-laws and a few of her friends were trying to get her to contact me, as they knew that she still had a lot of love for me, but she refused. She knew that I had, or at least was trying to move on, and she didn't want to treat me as her backup plan. For what it's worth, she still cared for me. The ex-father-in-law said they persuaded her, but she still refused. After about a year, she finally agreed, but it was also around that time when she discovered she had cancer. From that moment, she told her family that she will not contact me. She was worried that I would be concerned about her, and the last thing she wanted from me was being hurt again. Her depression and her condition deteriorated quite rapidly, which resulted her being in the ICU. Few months later, I have gone back to work and slowly picking up the pieces. I have told my boss that I will be quitting my job once we have completed our last project together. After seeing the passing of my ex-wife, I felt that life is just too short and I should go out more and enjoy my life. Our breakup was partly due to both of us focusing on our careers and not spending enough time with each other. I am no longer dating and have been spending time at home reading and watching the Olympics. My GF, well, she broke up with me. She found someone else, and from what I heard they are going strong. Well, good for her. That's life, I will survive. She wasn't happy that I was going to visit my ex. I guess that is understandable, but agreed that would be the right thing for me to do. We were supposed to be going out to a fancy restaurant that weekend, but I had to cancel it because of my visit to the ICU. Anyway, I am glad she found someone. When she gave me time and space to grieve, little did I know that the space she was giving me was to be permanent. Ex-family, we have spoken a few times. My ex's family wants to start a scholarship fund in memory of her. My ex-father-in-law asked me for my opinion. I told him it is a fantastic idea. I felt honored that he actually asked me for my opinion, even though I am no longer part of their family. Anyway, he wants me to be there for the dedication, which will be next month. I told him I will certainly be there. I am glad that things are moving in a positive direction. After 3 years, we got to talk again. As for the lady that I was dating, it doesn't really matter anymore. We knew each other slightly more than a month. It will take time for us to get to know each other better. My early impression was that she was pleasant and rather outgoing. Oh well, things happen for a reason. A year later, I have been going out with a very nice lady for about 3 months now. We started out as casual friends and then started having feelings for each other. We have a lot of things in common and she is really sweet and helpful. Sometimes when she visits me, she will cook a nice meal or she will help to clean and tidy up my place. She did this on her initiative. I have asked her not to do it, but she insisted. She is a warm and helpful person by nature. The thing about her is that she cheated on her ex-husband. That was about 10 years ago. She said it was all her fault. She cheated with her co-worker. She wanted to know if the grass is greener on the other side, and the co-worker seems to fit the bill as in the perfect man for her. She said she was foolish and regretted her action. One thing I noticed about her is that she never said anything bad or negative about her ex-husband. Her ex-husband has since remarried and has a wonderful family. It looks like she respected her ex-husband. It was just that she was being stupid at that time, in her own words. I know that was more than 10 years ago, but there is always a possibility that history may repeat itself. Though I am falling for her, but I remain cautious. However, something happened last week that made me re-examine my relationship with her as to whether I should take it deeper. Last week, I was very sick, high fever and throwing up. I couldn't hold any food in my tummy. She and I bought some really expensive concert tickets. As luck has it, I got sick. The tickets were with her. I told her to attend the concert with anyone she wishes with my best compliments, as I have no use for the ticket. I cut the conversation short with her as I wasn't feeling well. That evening, I switched off my phone as I wanted to rest and needed a good night's sleep. Just as I was about to sleep, I heard someone knocking on my door. I was irritated, and when I opened her door, it was her standing there with some hot soup. I asked her why wasn't she at the concert. She said she will only attend if I am going. Right now, she'd rather be with me and look after me. She said we can attend the concert some other time when I feel better. I thought that was very nice of her, but not sure whether she is codependent, like some of the posters here have been talking about. That made me fall for her even more, but given her past, I am afraid of taking the relationship to the next week. What do you guys think? Can an ex-cheater be trusted? By the way, she was the one who told me she cheated. I didn't ask her. She is too perfect, being helpful, nice, warm and kind. Sometimes it makes me wonder whether such persons still exist in this world. According to her, was single at that time. Broke up with her when he found someone new. She blamed herself for cheating. She sounded remorseful, but then I wouldn't know the full story. So far, she is having been remarkable to me. She somewhat reminded me of my ex-wife, in terms of her personality. I realize this is kind of dangerous for me, as I might be falling for her personality rather than the person. That is why I am trying to get a feel from the members in this forum whether I could trust a person who had cheated before. I need to make this clear. We have not labeled ourselves as BF and GF, but our actions would show that we are in some kind of relationship. Neither me nor her has asked to be exclusive with each other. I mean, we are not kids, but if we are going into a deeper relationship, I suppose we need to talk about this at some point. My comment: life for one betrayed is always forever after viewed through cheat-tinted glasses, but life goes on. It depends on whether you want to live the rest of your precious life unhappy and alone. If your eyes were closed before cheating, then they're wide open after. Open eyes, radar, thermal imaging, night Googles, motion detectors, the lot. Even if you weren't cheated on, it pays to always be vigilant. Vigilant to the fact your relationship may be waning and you're starting to take each other for granted. vigilant for slipping into bad habits, dishonesty, etc. Nothing wrong with being cautious, but when cautious leads to retentive, then that's an issue. Story 2. My husband cheated the first time 7 years ago. He had an IA with a girl he met online and fell in love with her and was about to leave me for her. I did the suggested course, kicked him out, told him we were through, etc. But after a week and a promise that we would get marriage counseling, I let him come back and we worked on us. Fast forward those 7 years. We've known each other for 16 years, married for 11, 2 kids 7 and 5. We've been doing good, bonding every night, tell each other we find each other attractive and kiss and say I love you and all that. Then a month ago he started getting new hobbies. He took up riding dirt bikes again because people at work had them. That was his excuse. I know he'd always loved riding, so I didn't fight when he got one and started leaving on Sundays to ride with his friends. Then his leaving the family included staying out at the bar till 10 to 11 p.m. on Fridays with the guys from work. 2 weeks ago, he stayed out till 2 a.m. and I got really scared because it was so unlike him. So, I texted him, "You are coming home." He came home about a half hour later. I found that really weird and started having the notion he was cheating. One thing I remembered from the last time is you trust your instincts. So, the next morning I asked him why he was out so late and he said he got sidetracked. I asked about if he was fooling around and he said no. So, I let it go and just watched him closely. Then this last Friday he went out with the guys again and I texted and asked if he was going to be out as late this week and he said no. So, by 2:30 a.m. with him not home, I'm starting to get pissed off. I know he's cheating. The signs are blaring. So, I text him and ask if he's going to come home and his excuse is he's super drunk and waiting it out. It's 2:30 a.m. The bar's closed at 2 a.m. So I text this fact back and ask if he's sitting in his car and he says yes. I'm finished with him. So, I go to sleep. I don't know when he got home. Next morning I'm pissed, something is up. I know it. So, I'm in ignore you mode and stuff. Then he tells me he has plans to go for a camp out with friends and dirt bike while there and he'll leave and come back the following day. I ask will there be girls and I'm told it's boys only. The next day it's almost 6 p.m. before he texts me that he's still 3 hours out and he's going to stop and drink with the guys. Okay, I'm not an idiot. So, I pull up my laptop, which I remember he left his Facebook open on one day months ago, and I check his messages. And my world falls apart again. Her messages: I want your ex, hurry up and get here. So, I text my wonderful adoring husband and tell him I want a divorce. And I send him screenshots of the FB conversation. Lo and behold, he's home in 10 minutes. So much for being a few hours out yet. I kicked him out. He told me it was a mistake and he only slept with her once, but once is enough. I'm divorcing him. He's begging me to let him back. I tell him he told me the second he cheated that he didn't want me anymore and I couldn't trust a thing he said ever again. So, after kicking him out, he gets all sad and asks for money for a hotel. I tell him to go ahead and get one that night. The whole night I walked around the house like a ghost. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Mind movies galore. So, I text him to meet me at the bank tomorrow so we could split our bank accounts. Then I ask if he's with her. He says yes. Right there I knew there was no hope, but his excuse was he has no one else to talk to. He can't tell anyone what he did. I'm so done with his BS. Everyone keeps cautioning me not to make any rash decisions, but there is no way I'll take that man back. My mother-in-law is telling him cheating is 50% my fault because a marriage doesn't fail just because of one person. She had the audacity to tell me that when a marriage is failing, it's just a matter of time before someone cheats, and it just happened to be him. I have 2 kids involved. I have no one to continue this relationship for their sake. My daughter won't grow up thinking dad is get to cheat, and my son won't grow up thinking it's okay to treat someone like this. Am I being too hard? This happened 2 nights ago and I'm just done. I don't even want to try for R. I want him gone. I have serious moments of weakness still, but I'm not wavering on getting back together. He begged me, please, please. I'm sorry. I want to be with my family. I miss my kids. Let me stay in the guest bedroom. I told him he's the most heartless, cold bastard alive. Everything he says begins with I on me. I told him I don't want my amazing son to grow up and turn into you. I'm just trying to hold it together though for the kids. They know something's up and I know with kids I'll never be rid of him. So, I'm trying to do my best. But this is so hard. I go from exhaustion, to wandering aimlessly, to needing to talk to someone, to crying hysterically, to wanting to tell him what a piece of crap he is. My friends are suggesting maybe I wanted a divorce because I went so immediately to it's over. I went there because this is twice now and I still was having moments of doubt from the last time he cheated. I don't want to have those same mind movies. I remember every second of the first time he cheated, every emotion. I don't want this to engrave itself into my life like the first time did. I'll never forget the first time he cheated, and this time is even worse. He actually screwed someone. He's saying it's stupid to end it all for a mistake. But I told him this was no mistake. You don't mistakenly screw someone else. This was intentional. But are they right? I know divorce is the way to go, but am I skipping the usual steps and not taking my time? Why does everyone keep telling me I must have wanted this with how fast I went I want a divorce? Is it normal? I know he'll never stop cheating if I take him back. Taking him back only entered my mind once, and it was because my MIL made me feel like it was my fault. I don't care if I was the worst wife ever. Divorce me, don't cheat. And I was far from the worst wife ever. I was supportive and loving and always there for him. But he knew when I took him back last time that I would never do this again. And he did it again. The first time he cheated, he was out on disability and had nothing else to do. He was talking with a girl from Nebraska and they'd voice chat all day and night. I let it go at first because I'm a big gamer too. I wasn't into it like him though, and I don't get emotionally involved. But he did. It was a game, so he quickly mistook their friendship for love, and one day I heard him telling her he loved her. I flipped out, and that's when he told me he loved her and was leaving me and moving to Nebraska. Within 24 hours his tune changed, and we never stopped being lovey-dovey this time. Up until him cheating on Friday. I personally believe it was the week before when he was out until 2 a.m. the first time. We had slept together every night. I asked about going on the camp trip and he didn't want me to. And the last thing I want to do is drag 2 kids up to the mountains to sit at camp while he rides through the woods. And drinking with the guys from work is only for people from his work. I've asked about it. I stay home and watch the kids and he have a few beers. I was okay with this because it was only every Friday and normally only a couple hours. Not all night like it became 2 weeks ago and since. So, all his hobbies were stuff we couldn't join him for. This was one of my red flags. The only thing I can possibly think might have been a fault on my part is up until a month ago I played a ton of video games. I would have slept with him, then stay up for another hour and play video games. I have a hard time going to sleep at 9 p.m. after getting home from work at 7 p.m. He felt I never went to sleep with him. That's been the only complaint I've gotten. And I stopped all that over a month ago. So honestly, I have no idea what led to this. He admitted to having a problem and needing help when I caught him, and he swore he was going to tell me about cheating. But you know how that goes. And she knew he was married. I asked him that and he said yes. Then I was a real bee and stalked her profile and found a post about her boyfriend, so I sent him my screenshots. He said they aren't dating anymore, but she's a snake. Mother-in-law was indeed cheated on. She stayed with my husband's father while he slept around and left every night as soon as my husband went to sleep to be with his lover, who he eventually married. This is why I'd have thought she'd be more sympathetic. She told me how much it hurt to watch him leave every night to be with his lover. Last night was hard. My cheater husband missed the kids, so he picked them up from summer camp with MIL and they went to the park and had fun. My daughter wanted to stay the night with MIL and was holding on to daddy, begging to stay with him and MIL last night when he dropped them off. We didn't even look at each other. We didn't say anything. When my daughter came inside and it was time to shut the door, I had no idea what to say. How do you say goodbye now? I just said bye. It felt so cold. My first instinct was to do what I always did. Do what was habit. Say I love you and I'll see you later with a kiss. But that's not my life anymore. That's the old life. I didn't do it, but there was a second of awkwardness where I had no idea what to do but close the door. He never looked at me the entire time, and mother-in-law stayed in the car waiting for him. He's been staying with her while she's in the state. Stupid of him to cheat on me right before his mom came into town for a month. She normally lives on the East Coast. I wanted to ask if he'd found an apartment because he needs one so we can start splitting stuff and ending this. But I was just mute. Didn't have any idea what to say. The kids said they had fun, and as far as I can tell they didn't talk about the issues in front of the kids, so I appreciate that. But MIL is known for speaking bluntly and hurting people unintentionally, and so I worry she's going to say stuff or try and elicit fault from my kids. I'll be glad to have her gone from my life. He's not fighting me on moving out so far. I know I can't force him to leave, and had he fought more than just pitiful fake crap I couldn't have stopped him. But he's looking for an apartment with MIL's financial backing, so I'm pretty sure he's not coming back. I told him I need a safe place for the kids and I'd agree, and that having him there would only make it harder on the kids seeing us fight and hate each other. Right now, the kids know we're taking a break and they miss daddy, but that's it. As for the kids, he had them last night, so I'm certainly not denying him access. I don't know how I could have ever loved this man. He's telling everyone I'm a drunk and an addict and that our marriage was failing way before he cheated. He's saying we haven't gone to sleep at the same time in over a year. His lies are just insane. My mother-in-law asked my mom if I needed an intervention and if I was safe to be around the kids. If 1 to 2 drinks a week and only on Thursday nights is alcoholic. Ugh, he drinks so much more than me. I was so mad I packed up all the alcohol in the house, all his, and handed it to him in front of his mom and told him I don't drink nearly as much as he does and he'd probably need it more than I did. He and I both know our marriage was healing and we were doing awesome. Bonding every night. And yeah, I didn't go to sleep with him every single night in a week because the jerk went to bed at 9 p.m. and got up at 4 a.m. for no reason. I get home at 7 p.m. I can't physically make myself go to sleep so quickly. I stay up until 10 p.m. usually and sleep till 6 a.m. I'm just so tired of his lies. And he's pushing half equity in the house I owned before we even got married. His name wasn't even on the loan until a couple years ago. And splitting the kids 50-50. He has them a week. I have them a week. That sounds so unstable to me. My poor kids. I'm so lost and angry and sad, and I feel like an idiot forever thinking he was a good guy or worth my time. I keep wondering if he was always this big of a jerk and I just didn't notice. I'm doing my best, but I can't completely no contact him because he and mother-in-law have been seeing the kids every night this week, so they have to drop them off every night. I'm saying very little to him. I'm hearing what he says from my parents, other than discussing the children and when he's going to get his stuff. On Saturday, we don't talk. He just told me he wants the 50-50 and I told him no. And then he mentioned needing his half of the equity in the house last night when he dropped the kids off. I don't say anything in response, just we'll talk about it. I'll try and figure out the lawyer thing tomorrow. It's my only day off this week. It's only been 4 days since I caught him cheating and kicked him out. Now I'm divorcing him and I have no idea what I'm doing. I've looked a bit into paperwork and how to start this. Am I required to take time before filing? Oregon is a no-fault state and equitable distribution, so my main concern is coming out of this divorce with the house, which is my children's home and my full retirement. With the bomb my husband dropped on us, I believe he owes his children the ability to keep their home and not have to sell it so he can have half the equity. I've mentioned this to my soon-to-be ex and he hasn't agreed or disagreed, but he seems currently willing to work it out ourselves. I've heard from everyone to lawyer up, but my husband's mother is a millionaire and I'm worried if I lawyer up, he will too, and then he'll take a piece of my retirement and I'll have to sell the house. Or even worse, she'll push him to go for custody just to hurt me. With all her money behind him, I'm just nervous of what I could lose. Is it better to try and amicably end the marriage and work together to assure we both are comfortable with the split? I want to stay on good terms with him for the kids, and I'm going to use the promise of a reasonable child support payment as leverage to get my house and retirement. Does anyone have any advice or experience going through a divorce where both parties just agreed? Is it harder? Will the judge possibly see I'm getting the house and my retirement and he's getting only the stuff he wants and feel he deserves more? We can't file with infidelity as the reason in Oregon. It'll have to be unsolvable differences or whatever. We get paid about the same, but my husband has no retirement. But after what he did, he sure doesn't deserve any of mine. Like comment, if you both make about the same salary, then alimony is likely not going to even be considered. It's not as common as it used to be anyway. If you are able to work things out fairly between you, then that is always preferable. Who wants lawyers involved if they aren't needed? You may want to consider a consult with one just to find out what your rights are and how child support is determined in your state. Many attorneys will do a free initial consult.